Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year for audio shows again. Recently, there was one down in Florida, and later this month in March, on the 21st through the 23rd, we have Southwest Audio Fest, which is here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Also coming up in April, a big show, April 11th through the 13th, is Axpona, and that is in Chicago, Illinois, just in the suburbs of Schaumburg, Illinois. And today I've got an interview with Liz Smith, who is the event coordinator for this, getting some background on the event, what's going to be there, what's new, and what you can expect. That's coming up next on the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. I have a special guest today. Her name is Liz Smith, and she is the event coordinator for Axpona, an upcoming high-end audio show. Liz, thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thanks, David. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, this is one of the bigger shows in the United States. A good friend of mine out of Columbus, Ohio, goes every year, and I'll actually get to meet him this year. We've met through the internet and through my channel, but so I'm really looking forward to attending this year and covering it. So, give us a little background about Axpona and your involvement and how long it's been going and those kind of things.
Sure. So Axpona, it was founded in 2010 by a guy named Steve Davis. He'd been in the industry for a really, really long time and decided to start an audio show. So the first Axpona was actually in Jacksonville, Florida. And then in 2013, the show moved to Chicago. And then in 2014, the company that I work for, we took over running the show. So I've been working on the show now for over 10 years. And slowly, ever since working on it, we've been growing it. We've been, adding new features, expanding things. In 2018, we moved to the venue that we're at right now, which is the Renaissance Schaumburg in Schaumburg, Illinois. It's a suburb of Chicago. And yeah, I mean, it's grown. It's we're in Chicago because it's easily accessed from all over the country, tons of direct flights into O'Hare and Midway. So, that's why we picked Chicago, so we can grow and have people coming from all over the country and the world.
Great. Well, yeah, I think Schaumburg's not far from O'Hare, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it's not. It's about 25 minutes, if that.
Yeah. So, right. So, yeah, I grew up in the Chicago area myself, so I'm very familiar with the Schaumburg area. So that's great. And what is your website address?
It's Axpona.com. So AXPONA.com.
Right. Don't need a year in there or anything. It'll take you to all the current setups, all the information, the admission, the hotels that are nearby, and what's going to be going on in a detailed manner, and who's going to be there in a detailed manner as well. We'll talk a little bit at a higher level about those things, but all the details you need are going to be at that website. So, about how many vendors or participants showing equipment do you expect?
So right now we have around 330 exhibitors booked, which actually represents over 700 hi-fi brands because, folks book a booth or they book a room and then they often have partners or it's a dealer or distributor who's displaying a whole range of brands that they work with. So around, 300 companies putting all 330 companies putting all this together, but over 700.
Right. Yeah, because when you go to a room, maybe they'll be representing 5 or 6 different providers. Mm-hmm. They marry up their equipment in that room, and that's how. And then you have some that are distinct to one brand potentially.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes folks, it might be like a loudspeaker company then partners with another amplifier company, and they work together. And so, the rooms come together in a lot of different ways.
So, what is the layout like? I mean, I know in the Dallas show we had the main floor and the floor above it, and then we had to go up and through an elevator, 16th, 17th floors to some rooms. What's it like there?
So the Renaissance, it's actually a pretty big building. It's a very unique building in the country where it's a convention center that is attached to a hotel. So that way we can use the convention center space and ballrooms and actually the expo halls that they have. But then people can also walk over to the hotel tower. So on the convention center side, like you walk in, that side has 2 levels, but you walk in, that's where you get your badge. You'll see lots of like the larger exhibit rooms. And then if you head in one direction, like to one side, there's where we have the expo hall. And the expo hall has our record fair. And so in there, like there's many exhibitors with all kinds of components, cables, accessories, and also vinyl. And then we use other space for like our new car audio showcase this year. And there's a second level with also more exhibit rooms. And that's also where on that side is where we have our seminar room. So, you kind of like can navigate that side. And then if you head to the other side of the building, that's where we have the hotel tower. And the Renaissance has 16 floors. We have exhibits on floors. So it's actually 10 floors, but so in the hotel tower, it's floors 3 through 7, and then 11 through 16. And they don't have a 13th floor. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so you take the elevator. We have an express elevator because that way you can take the elevator to one of the upper floors and then work your way
Gotcha.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those maybe who maybe haven't gone to a show, there are literally hotel rooms that are made available for putting components in and
Mhm.
listening area and a couch or chairs or whatever. So you're literally just going from one room to the next, different dealers or combinations of brands, and so it's a really interesting thing. But of course, you start to the volume can be very amount of them can be overwhelming. So you
Yeah,
might take a notepad or on your phone, take some notes because you'll start blurring things after a bit.
it can get really overwhelming, but I mean, I think that is a great point that like with an audio show, like what's unique about it compared to other shows, like if someone's familiar with like a car show or like a home show, it's like because you want to listen to a system. So it's this active experience that happens where you really do go from room to room. And to your point, like, it's always good to plan ahead a little bit, make notes about what you want to see. And then we even have a mobile app that way you can star your favorite rooms and then
Cool.
you can go back to them.
Good. And one thing I do, there's a few records or albums that in my mind I know really, really well. And so I know how it sounds. And so when I go in a room, sometimes I'll ask them to play it because a lot of the rooms is obviously it's set up for streaming and that type of thing,
Mhm.
as opposed to vinyl. And they can do that. And so you can, listen to something you're very familiar with to see how it sounds, at least in that room. Every room's different, but
Yes.
at least you have some familiarity to make some comparison or reference to when you go there as well. So think about, when you go to a room, what kind of material you might ask them to put on for you. Don't be ashamed to ask.
Yeah, they definitely like, yeah, exhibitors like getting requests. I mean, they can, like you were saying, like a lot of them are streaming music, so they could play so many different things. And
Yeah, and the people that come to these are from all ranges of the likes of music. From rap to classical to jazz to rock. I mean,
Mhm.
it's all over the map. And you go through these floors, you'll hear all sorts of different music
Yeah.
being played at the same time. So pick what you know the best is what I always advise whenever anybody's looking at equipment, whether it's this level or walking into a store.
Yeah.
Have that in your mind and ready to go. So that's a lot of ground to cover, and
Mhm.
and so let's talk about the days and the times for the show and the dates, of course.
Sure. So it's April 11th through 13th. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The show officially opens at 10 a.m. So it's open from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Friday and on Saturday. Sunday it opens at 10 a.m. and closes at 4, closes a little earlier. And then, but we actually open registration at 9 a.m. So if you're coming to the show and like you can get there a little earlier, grab your badge, get your event guide. I've got one right here. This was last year's. But you can grab your event guide and start doing what we were just talking about, planning, planning what you're going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good advice. So you go online and register. I guess you can register when you come, but if you do it ahead of time, it's smoother.
Yeah, it's smoother and it actually saves you a little bit of money. We have a discount if you register early.
There you go. All the incentive in the world to
Yep.
do it
And
ahead of time.
and there's 1-day passes, there's multi-day passes if you want to come for the whole weekend. Children under 15, I think it is, are free because we want folks to bring their whole families, and you'll see a lot of families at our show. A lot of teenagers, folks are, people are bringing the next generation, which is really cool to see everybody, sharing their love of music. And we actually also have a Gen Z pass. So if you're, I think right now it's like 27 and under, 28, like, teenagers to like, if you're in your 20s, you can come in at a discount that way.
Yeah. Great.
Learn about the hobby.
Great perspective of drawing them into that because, the reality of the matter, and we talk about it a lot on different channels and panels, is the folks that have been into this are growing in age, myself included, baby boomers, and we need to supplant that and the love of music. It's like these record collections, right? Passing those on to our kids or other people who can share the love, as well. So yeah, that's a great point and I think a great approach from a marketing perspective as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that aspect of things. So it's what about? I always have to ask about parking at these kind of events because it always is a question mark. I guess for staying at the hotel, it's easy, but
yeah. So we are really fortunate with the fact that we're at a convention center hotel. There's a lot of free parking. Like parking's free. There are literally like thousands of parking spaces, and then we actually also have to add on additional offsite parking with shuttles. But we have plenty of parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know on the site you have various hotels listed. Do any of those have a shuttle process? Are they sponsored that way or not?
So quite a few of them have a shuttle. The way how it works is the hotel provides the shuttle. We don't have like an official shuttle that makes the rounds as like, if someone goes to like, some large conventions, that'll happen. But so I've stayed off site before. Like I've like used those shuttles like when I've been on like business trips and stuff, and you just go to the front desk and say, hey, I want to ride over to the Renaissance, and they'll be like, sure, the shuttle's going to leave in 15 minutes, and you call them when you want to ride back. And it's really easy.
Yeah. Well, that's good logistically, just about, what do I need? Do I need to rent a car or can I just take an Uber from the airport to the hotel and then stay there until, take the shuttles to the show and then, another Uber back to the airport. So just from a logistical standpoint.
Yeah. No, yeah. If you're coming in from out of town, you can definitely get around without a car and just kind of Ubering, making use of the shuttles. The Schaumburg area, like there's lots of restaurants, like nothing really doesn't take too long to get from the Renaissance where Axpona takes place to if you want to go out to dinner that night or something. It doesn't take too long to get around. There's lots to do in the area.
Yeah. Speaking of at night, let's talk about events you guys have going on at night from the Exponent standpoint.
Sure. So we have 2 concerts. We have a concert on Friday night and a concert on Saturday night, and they're included with your ticket. So they're open to everyone. Friday night we have the Kyle Ash organ quartet. Yes, that's it. It's Friday at 8:00. Some local Chicago musicians, and it's in partnership with one of the Chicago area radio stations. So it's a really great group. It's going to be a great time. And then Saturday night we have Patricia Barber, who's
Ah,
coming to the show with her band. So that's
beautiful.
going to be great.
Great. No,
Yeah.
that'll be very nice. Wonderful.
Mhm.
So no need to leave the hotel. I mean, just
Yeah.
stay there and enjoy it all.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. So beyond that, we talked a bit before going on live here about some new things that are coming up. You mentioned, I think I heard you saying in the one hall to the right is going to be a car stereo.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
interesting. Let's hear
Yes.
about that.
Sure. So for the first time, we're going to have car audio at the show. We've partnered with IASCA, which is a group that does sound competitions. And I think everyone kind of like when you think about car audio, sometimes everyone always is thinking about like hearing a car down the road, like with like the booming bass, and it's all about being loud. And this isn't about that. It's about sound quality. So it really marries well with Axpona and like, what we're all about with appreciating music and appreciating high quality music. And that's what they're all about. So the car audio showcase is going to have exhibits with manufacturers and dealers of car audio. And it's also going to have a car audio competition. So individuals who compete in IASCA competitions are going to come to the show and have their cars available, and they'll be competing to be recognized for their sound quality in their car. But they're also going to be doing demonstrations. So it's really cool because there's going to be so many cars to sit in and really compare and see what's possible. Um, and these contestants, it's like they've done such a great job in tuning their cars and making all these adjustments. And so you can talk to them and like really learn about what's possible.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, because I think we've all grown a bit, in the 70s and 80s, things were modular, and you had a lot more flexibility. These days, everything seems to be quote integrated into, the dash, into the system, into
Yeah.
a head unit that looks like an iPad or whatever. So, seeing again, the possibilities of going out, branching outside of that is great because
Mhm.
I mean, I had a $1,200 Nakamichi tape deck in my car years and years ago
Yeah.
where it literally popped out, a drawer popped out, and you dropped the cassette into it and then pushed
Mhm.
the drawer in. All the electronics were in a separate module.
Yep.
And that thing it had the same kind of features like their Dragon cassette player had,
Mhm.
automatic azimuth control. So, I mean, that was a very, very big market. And so that'll be really cool to see. I'm really glad you guys are doing that.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. And like, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's like like for my generation, like we kind of like did the thing where like the radio would pop out and I'd get my better CD player and like we would do some stuff. And now it is a lot more complex. Like I was just talking to my brother-in-law this weekend and he was, into that space. And we were talking about how much more, complex it is with how cars look these days, but it's still possible. Like there's a lot of possibilities with how you can customize it.
Yeah, and car was a perfect quad setup. Four distinct corners,
Hmm.
in your car.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a real flashback. Um, Anything else that's either new or big this year that's coming in that isn't what you may have had in previous years?
So for the first time, we're going to have an affordable hi-fi room. So if someone's checking out, the show for the first time, or just getting into the hobby, or a little bit more on a budget, we're going to have this affordable hi-fi room. It's in partnership with All Elite Audio and our content creator Lenny Florentine that we work with for our podcast. So we're working with him on that, and so that'll be really cool. It'll be definitely a room to check out. Um, Not necessarily like new, but the content changes every year. We have our seminar program, and we have some different seminars this year. Michael Fremmer's doing a panel all about the process of making a record. So that'll be really cool to sit and listen to. We have a panel on immersive audio. There's also going to be a state of the audio industry with some different manufacturers talking about what's going on with the industry. And I also have someone talking about like, the science of human hearing and like what's, and how that applies to hi-fi. So it'll be very
Beautiful.
interesting. Yeah.
You said podcast. Fill me in. What podcast are you speaking of?
Sure. So we launched this year a podcast. It's called Audio Insider, and so it's basically a way for Axpona, because if you like, a show happens one time a year, and so we all get together and we have a great time and we celebrate hi-fi, and then it's done. So it's like, for a long time I've been trying to figure out what we can do to engage with with our community, and build more awareness um, of the hobby, of the show, everything year round. So we launched a podcast this past November, and we launched it in partnership with Lenny, and he interviews exhibitors every single week. And so it's a chance to kind of learn about different companies that are exhibiting, the person behind it. Like, we've interviewed some, designers or engineers. Sometimes it's the person who's in charge of sales, and talking about the hobby, talking about the products, and also kind of giving a preview for what they're going to have at Expo, like the product launches and things like that. So
Great.
cool. Oh, and it's
So,
on YouTube, and it's on like where you can listen to podcasts. So it's on
oh,
Apple
so
and
it's
Spotify.
okay. Visual as well. Okay.
Visual as
So,
well. Audio Insider.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely check that out, and yeah, I'll give you some insight into some of the exhibitors that are going to be there, and help you get your perspective of what they've got ahead of time. So that's good.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of that. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And I think you also mentioned that there are vinyl sales that are going to be occurring in the exhibit hall as well, right?
Yes. So within the expo hall, we do have a section that we call our record fair. So there's quite a few different vendors that will have, huge tables full of crates and crates of vinyl. Music Direct, Elusive Disc, Direct Audio, and Acoustic Sounds are all there, along with some, dealers from the Chicago area. So
Great.
lots of like good sized
So
record fair.
good. So those of us that are into vinyl and maybe, we're not looking for high-end audio, but, we like a record fair, record show, you get a
Mhm.
day pass for this. And just like you would go into a record show, you're going to be able to see what's there as well. And
Mhm.
so that's another aspect of what you can do, especially those of us that are into vinyl. So
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to checking that out as well. Great. That's an expansion beyond the norm, I guess. I guess you guys have had them there before, though, right? If I understand right.
Yeah, we've had that area for a long time. We kind of named it the Record Fair a few years ago just to bring more attention to it.
Okay.
And we've been trying to, add more vinyl every year, but we've had that for a
Okay.
while. We also have an ear gear area as well, with headphones and personal audio.
Yeah, I know it takes a lot to put these kind of things together from a multitude of levels. You have a staff, I would assume, of some degree that helps you with this.
Yeah, I mean, we have a team that works on the show year round. I handle like the marketing for the show, special events, kind of like general stuff for the show. We have someone who's in business development who's responsible for bringing in all the exhibitors. And then we have an operations team that, they're the ones who are making sure that all the exhibitors are getting the info that they need, and making sure the hotel, like the venue, has all the info they need. Like, just a lot of sending info and prepping and planning. And but we're like, we're a small company. We work really well together, and often you'd be surprised. It's like, even though we're a small company, you kind of see us all over the building. Like, we love what we do. We're very into customer service, and so you kind of see us everywhere. And we bring in help. Like, we have to bring in temporary staff to help, cover everything, and make sure all of those different zones that I was just talking about have eyes on them. That way they can call us if they need help, or something's going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to going that area. Like I said, I worked in Chicago actually for several years as a DJ. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, so it's very a place in my heart for the Chicago area. So I'm sure I'll may run into some people I know. I wouldn't doubt it whatsoever. So
I was just gonna say, are you gonna like reminisce over like some Chicago pizza? Maybe not had that in a long time.
Yeah, it could be some of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. At least this time of year, I won't be reminiscing about blizzards, I guess. So that's good.
Yeah. Weather should be pretty good. We've,
Yeah, spring.
sometimes it's a little cool. Sometimes it's like a beautiful spring day and you want to walk outside for a minute, but it's generally good time of year.
Yeah, you never know this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, any other topics or things related to the show you might want our audience to know about?
Um, I mean, I think that's everything. It's, like we said, it's April 11th through 13th. It's a great time. Everyone's really friendly. It's, the most audio gear you'll see in one place in the United States. And we hope a lot of people come out. We'd love seeing new people.
Yeah, great. It's a large show. I mean, it's a very large show, obviously, by the number of exhibitors. So, got a feeling it's going to be a whirlwind, and more so for you, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun. I love being on site.
Great. Well, thanks again for your time today, and hope to meet you at the show.
Yeah, we'll meet for sure. Thanks so much, David.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. A bit of advice if you haven't attended one of these shows. Being a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it is a lot less busy on the Friday because people are working and what have you. And so getting in early when the registration starts at 9 and getting to the rooms at 10, looking at the guide and getting your bearings straight as to where things are at and what priority you want to have toward getting things done during the day is highly advised. And then when you go to these rooms, they probably won't be as crowded on the Friday. Now, Saturday is a whole different animal. Saturday, people are really at the peak of getting there, both in terms of locals and those that travel, and it is in fact the busiest day. So it's harder to get things done during that day, and it is much more crowded in the rooms than it is on Friday. And then Sunday, earlier in the morning, 10 to 12 or so, it's usually not quite as busy. About noon, it starts to pick up through the 4 o'clock close. So just some tips for you. By the way, if you happen to see me there, please give me a shout out, say hello, give me a tap on the shoulder, and I'd love to meet you. That's part of what these events are really good for, is networking. So as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so by clicking on the bell below in the all option, and a thumbs up or like is appreciated, as are your comments. Have you ever been to Axpona? Do you plan to go this time? Let me know in the comments. So until we catch you next time on the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion, take care, everybody.